Walter's Sports Bar has been recognized by many local publications as one of the best sports bars in Washington, D.C., located across the street from Nationals Park and open year-round.
I'm excited to tell you about the designs Homage has cooked up for the 2025 MLB season. If you're as baseball obsessed as I am, you'll love the full roster of major league looks from Homage. Amazing comfort and deep cut designs that help fans show off passion for their favorite teams. Homage has a massive selection that tells the story of the greatest sport from its very beginnings. Deep logo history, coast-to-coast stadium tours, and the biggest players from every era. Legends never die at Homage. If you need your new shirt for going to a ball game, Homage has you covered with its most comfortable fan clothing, and it's available for fans of all ages. This year's collection hits dinger after dinger after tater. Fleece, tees, bottoms, and more. And don't forget to check out the new starter jacket lineup, an iconic dugout look you don't want to miss. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die, and these looks go long, period. Check out the Homage MLB collection to find your team's coolest gear.
And now the pitch. Inside to the backstop on the flies. Somehow, McCutchen gets down and out of the way on a wild pitch. And the Pirates have runners on second and third. Or they're coming out to check on McCutchen to see if he was hit by the pitch.
Well,
or was he?
Derek Shelton wants Lopez ejected from the game. He's thinking this might be retaliation for DeJong getting hit in the face last night. That's what Shelton is thinking.
This would not be the spot to do it, though, in a one-run game, two-run game.
The umpires are huddling. That's what the Pirates want. And now Lopez is talking to McCutchen, and this is going to get interesting.
It's going to empty the dugouts. Here they come, with Ruiz pushing Lopez away back to the mound. The umpires getting in front of the Pirates, trying to say stop, and the Nationals, they all meet between home plate and the pitcher's mound. Now the pitchers come streaking out of the bullpens. Everybody from the bullpens is coming.
Well, with the Caps here, they said, that's not how you do this. Clearly, McCutchen is steamed. Now,
Tommy Pham's the one who's hot. And Oneil Cruz was holding him back, pushing him away.
Pham is on the periphery. He's pointing and yelling at somebody.
Now Ahmed Rosario talking with McCutchen, has his arm around him.
And now Ron Kulpis, the crew chief, is talking this over to the other umpires, and he's ejected Lopez.
Cruz is 1 for 3, single to right center last time up against Parker, the starter, and swings and lines one to deep right. Down the line toward the corner. Going, gone, goodbye. 6 rows deep over the 21-foot wall. It is a grand slam for Oneil Cruz. It's now the Pirates 6 and the Nationals nothing.
And welcome to Nats Chat, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who was at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. It was a few episodes ago that Mark and I said that the Nats, on their on-paper manageable 10-game road trip, needed to go at least 6-4. The good news is that the Nats on this road trip still can go 6-4. The bad news is that the Nats, in order to go 6-4 on this road trip, must win each of the final 4 games on the road trip. The Nats in this regular season fell to 7-11, including 2-4 on the road trip, with a 6-1 loss at the Pittsburgh Pirates on Wednesday evening in Game 3 of a 4-game series, and in a game in which benches and bullpens emptied at one point. You can find us on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com, including if you would like for us to deliver a shout out to someone who you care about. We have a good shout out coming up later in the program. We have a website that we invite you to check out as well, natschatpodcast.com, at which you could purchase a Nats Chat podcast t-shirt. We on Wednesday evening did get another good performance by Nats starting pitcher Mitchell Parker, but we on Wednesday evening also had another woeful performance by the Nats bullpen. And yes, benches and bullpens did empty at one point. And it's funny how things work out, because among those at PNC Park were multiple Capitals players. The Caps conclude their regular season with a game at the Pittsburgh Penguins on Thursday night at 7. And among the Caps players in attendance was noted Caps tough guy Tom Wilson, top line Tom. I promise you he was ready and willing to fight for the Nats if called upon. But Mark, an ugly game for the Nats in multiple ways.
I can only imagine what Tom Wilson and company were thinking, watching that from their suite and thinking, This qualifies as a brawl? Come on, guys. This is nothing. This is how this works in this sport? Come on. It really was a whole lot ado about nothing, aside from the fact that Jorge Lopez was ejected from the game, and I don't think it was warranted. We can get into all the details of that. You mentioned benches emptying and bullpens emptying. To me, benches emptied and bullpen, singular, imploded again. That's the story of this game. That and the complete lack of offense from the lineup. It didn't matter if the bullpen imploded or not. They were still going to lose this game because they had nothing going offensively. And that really made this into, one of the worst losses early on in the season in a game that coming in, you'd say, hey, you should have a good shot to win this, especially when your starter gives you 6 innings of 1-run ball and has nothing to show for it at the end of the night.
What an odd series this has been for the Nats. The 2 losses they've gotten ripped in. The win was a shutout win. Who knows what to expect Game 4 Thursday afternoon at 12:35. So, yeah, I don't know that there's much to say about the offense, but we should note this. The offense was really bad in this game, and that is the number one reason that the Nats lost this game. Maybe / probably the most feeble offensive performance by the Nats so far this season. Just 1 run, just 3 hits, just 2 walks, 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position. All 3 of the hits were singles. The 1 run that the Nats scored was a meaningless run in the top of the 9th. And the Nats in this game got dominated by Pirates starting pitcher Bailey Falter. 7 scoreless innings, despite Falter coming into the game with an ERA of 7.20 over 3 starts this regular season. It's a funny deal with this Nats offense. We have seen it look great, but man, when it has been bad this season, it has been quite bad. There is a Jekyll and Hyde aspect to this Nats offense we're learning.
And this was really bad. 8 innings, 24 batters to the plate. That's the bare minimum. They get 3 guys on. Each of them is put out before reaching second base, 1 on a caught stealing and 2 on double plays. They had nothing, not a single runner in scoring position until the 9th inning. And as you said, they didn't do this against Paul Skeens. They did this against Bailey Falter, who did not live down to his name in his performance in this one. This was pretty ugly. Not a lot to get excited about or even to talk about offensively because there just wasn't anything going on there. Davey Martinez noted they hit a lot of balls in the air, which sometimes can be a sign that they were late on it. Maybe there's something to that, but they didn't work the count. His pitch count was bare minimum. Once they got on, didn't do anything with those runners. It just really was a lifeless performance at the plate. And again, for 7 innings, it's a 1-0 game. And there's every reason to think that you just string together a couple of hits, you can have a chance to win this thing. And instead, they never got to that point. And by the time they did anything in the 9th inning, it was way too late.
Yeah, the bullpen made a complete and total mess of this game. I really wonder when we might see Nats president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Rizzo start to make some moves with this bullpen. I just don't know how you continue to go forward with these guys. 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 5 runs in 2 innings. Jorge Lopez, he officially allowed 4 runs in 2/3 of an inning. He would have ended up being a 5-run 7th for the Pirates, faced 5 batters, but got just 2 outs. He gave up 2 singles and issued a hit by pitch and a wild pitch. He was ejected from the game off throwing a pitch that went over the head of Andrew McCutchen. Benches and bullpens emptied, but no punches were thrown. Now, the ejection happened well after the pitch. This was not one of these ejections where you had the pitch, it sails over the batter's head, and then the pitcher is immediately ejected. This was the pitch went over the batter's head, the benches and bullpens emptied, and then time elapsed, and then Lopez got tossed. Seemed to be a function, at least a part of lobbying from Pirates manager Derek Shelton. And presumably, the umpiring crew felt that this was a retribution for what happened with Nats third baseman Paul DeJong. He, during the Nats' 3-0 win at the Pirates on Tuesday evening, took a hit by pitch on the face with 2 outs in the Nats' 2-run 6. And incidentally, the Nats on Wednesday morning announced having placed DeJong on the 10-day injured list with a fractured nose and announced having recalled infielder Trey Lipscomb from AAA Rochester. The idea seemed to be that Lopez threw at McCutchen as retribution for what happened with DeJong, but I don't know how any reasonable person thinks that that's what Lopez was doing. Lopez had no reason to throw at McCutchen in that spot. I mean, you think about where we were. Bottom of the 7th, runners on 1st and 2nd, 2 outs, Nats trailing 2-0. Never mind that Lopez has not been good this season. Even if Lopez was going to retaliate for what happened to DeJong, that was not the spot at which to do so. And then things really got ugly. Eduardo Salazar, he officially allowed 1 run in a third of an inning, but that does not tell the story of what happened with Eduardo Salazar. He comes into the game, bottom of the 7th, runners on first and second, 2 outs. Nats down 2-0. He, to the first batter he faces, completes the issuing of a 2-out 5-pitch walk of Andrew McCutchen. And then Salazar, to the second batter he faces, gives up a 2-out first pitch grand slam by Oneil Cruz to right field for a 6-0 Pirates lead. And just like that, the game was essentially out of hand. And then Cole Henry tossed a scoreless bottom of the 8th, despite giving up a 2-out double. But the ejection of Lopez, the benches and bullpens emptying, Eduardo Salazar giving up a grand slam, a lot to take in. None of it good with the Nats bullpen on Wednesday evening.
No, it's worst case scenario, pretty much all of it. The combination of what happened with Lopez and then the way that Salazar responded is just atrocious. But let's talk about the ejection. From my vantage point, he hits Brian Reynolds prior to this point, then throws the pitch a couple pitches later over McCutchen's head. McCutchen goes down, getting out of the way of the pitch, gets up on his feet, never looks at Lopez, kind of turns away, sort of walks a little bit towards the dugout. No reaction to suggest that he was upset by it at all. And then Derek Shelton comes out. And as you said, the umpires make no movement, anything to suggest that they think something has to be policed here. Derek Shelton comes out and starts talking about it, barking at it. And now Lopez seems to be saying back to him and back to McCutchen, who again did not argue as far as I could tell, and is saying to them that wasn't on purpose. And we talked to Lopez after the game. I give him credit. He did the interview in English. He got in some trouble last year in New York when he did an interview in English. It didn't go very well. He had the translator with him. He decided to do it in English. And so the answers can be a little bit muddled because of his lack of command of the language. But his point was clear. Not intentional. Had nothing to do with Paul DeJong getting hit the previous day, and had nothing to do with the fact that he gave up homers, back-to-back homers to Reynolds and McCutchen a year ago when he was with the Cubs. Said absolutely not, and he felt terrible that he came close to hitting McCutchen in the head, and he basically apologized for just being bad, not for doing anything intentionally. So the fact that after all that, and then the benches and the bullpens empty, and it was such a nonsensical reason for that all to happen, that then the umpires confer and eject him from the game really just stood out to me as an overreaction to the situation. Now, Davey Martinez, who did not put up a whole lot of fight himself when he came out to talk to them afterwards, and I was somewhat surprised by that.
Don't necessarily think it was warranted, but the umpire saw it differently.
His explanation of what he was told essentially is that they are policing pitches in the head area more than they have in the past.
I mean, it's, like I said, the umpire's discretion.
And that while he had no reason to believe anything was intentional, he kind of understood why the umpires did it. So I was a little surprised by that. Maybe it was for the best just to avoid anything else happening, but no reasonable person could watch that scene play out and feel like there was any purpose behind those pitches. This is a guy who is struggling big time for a bullpen that is struggling big time in what is still a close game. He's desperately trying to get his season back on track and give his team a chance to win the game, and he couldn't do it because his command was that far off.
And Lopez gave the umpires an earful as Lopez walked off the field. And I don't know about you, but I had this thought in my mind. What happened in May and June of last year, and you just alluded to this, the Mets last June 5th released Jorge Lopez off having designated him for assignment on May 30th of last year. This for him throwing his glove into the stands following an ejection. I was wondering if we might get a glove toss into the stands at PNC Park. We did not get that. But, what happened with Lopez gets a lot of the headlines. But to me, in a lot of ways, the meat of the matter is Eduardo Salazar. And what a horrendous series this guy is having. I know you asked Davey Martinez during his postgame session with you guys about Salazar.
We thought that was a good matchup for him, and he came in and just, threw 2 balls, non-competitive pitches.
The numbers here, Salazar's ERA for the regular season now is at 7.56. Lopez's, by the way, is worse, 10.57. But Salazar, in Game 1 of this series, the 10-3 loss at the Pirates on Monday evening, officially allowed 3 runs in 1 inning. But even that doesn't tell the story of that outing. It was batting practice for the Pirates against Salazar at that time. We've talked about could potential moves be coming regarding the bullpen. You think about Colin Poche. Is he in trouble? Lucas Sims has struggled. Eduardo Salazar, I don't know how you pitch him right now. He really seems to be in a bad way.
He is. And because he's the one with options, you would think that that's somebody who'd be a prime candidate for demotion. The problem is there's really nobody waiting in the wings at AAA to be called up. The only two pitchers on the 40-man roster right now in the minors are two starters. They're Andre Lara and Shinosuke Ogasawara. I don't think those are going to be the moves that would be made. And so now you're talking about adding somebody off the 40-man, which requires another move. And again, none of those are really standing out as anybody that you're saying, yeah, this guy is definitely big league material right now. So they're really in a bad spot. Again, the Derek Law injury is coming back to haunt them. The Orlando Ribalta injury is coming back to haunt them. They may have to wait until Michael Soroka is ready to return. And he did throw a simulated game on Wednesday. Everything looked good. Probably needs to go make at least one, maybe two rehab starts. If and when he comes back, you can move Brad Lord back to the bullpen, so that might resolve some of it. But in the immediate future, yeah, you can make the move. You can say Salazar has not earned the right to stay up here, and you wouldn't be wrong to say that. I'm just not sure that there's anybody down there that's clearly better right now, especially when you consider that you have to make a 40-man roster move to make that happen. So it's a bad situation for them to be in. Yes, in the past, they have dropped relievers in April who got off to really bad starts. And there are a couple of guys certainly worthy of that kind of treatment right now. But it helps if you have somebody else who clearly is an upgrade. And I just don't know if they have that.
Your updated numbers for Nats relievers this regular season: ERA 7.21, worst in the majors. WHIP 1.89, worst in the majors. Hey, it's Al Galdi for Window Nation, which has a gift for Nats Chat podcast listeners that's as good as any James Wood home run. 4 free windows for every 4 windows that you buy, and you pay nothing until 2027. This offer is good through April 30th, so hurry. Schedule your free estimate at 866-90Nation or windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. There's no limit to how much you can save, and if you buy a house full of windows, Window Nation will include a free entry door. Window Nation partners with the top window manufacturers in the nation to build windows to their high-quality specs. Then Window Nation passes the savings on to you. You'll protect your home with some of the best windows that you can buy at a fraction of the price of other brands, and you'll increase the value of your home. 4 free windows for every 4 windows that you buy, and you pay nothing until 2027. The offer is good through April 30th. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast.
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing then another. And don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation. But then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof massaging leather appointed seats are available features.
The 3-1. Swing a line drive, caught at third by Ke'Bryan Hayes, and the Pirates win it. So Wood made a bid for an RBI hit, lines out to end the game, and the Pirates take Game 3 of this series 6-1.
The shame of what happened with the Nats bullpen and with the Nats offense on Wednesday evening is that another really good outing by Nats starting pitcher Mitchell Parker went to waste. Parker was good again. If I ask you who is the most pleasant surprise of this Nats season, you might say Alex Call, and I don't know that you'd be wrong to say that, but Mitchell Parker, the candidacy of Parker for that honor, is gaining steam. So Parker on Wednesday evening, 1 run in 6 innings, 6 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He was really good again. He gave up just 4 hits, which were a home run and 3 singles. He did issue a hit by pitch, but he threw a lot of strikes, 89 pitches, 58 strikes versus 31 balls. Mitchell Parker now over 4 starts this regular season, ERA of 1.85, a WHIP of 1.11, and he has done all of this over 24 and a third innings. 4 starts, 24 and a third innings. He is averaging more than 6 innings per start. You think about that. Averaging more than 6 innings per start to the tune of an ERA of 1.85. He has been the Nats' best pitcher, and it really isn't even close.
He's been outstanding. And it's the length that stands out to me that he's giving them by keeping his pitch count down. Obviously, he's keeping the runs off the board, but he's staying efficient enough to go deep into these games by throwing strikes. He starts off this game with 4 straight strikeouts. This is not a guy we usually think of in those terms. Mackenzie Gore, yeah, not Mitchell Parker. He has the good fastball, the kind of surprising late life on it that we saw last year. But his off-speed stuff, his breaking stuff has really come a long way, that he now has a complete arsenal. And credit to him, because it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about, is this guy really a big league pitcher? Maybe he's a 5th starter at best. Maybe he won that competition by default because of DJ Herz's struggles and then injury, and Ogasawara's struggles, not really being big league ready. Well, he's take this thing and run with it. And now, if and when the time comes they make a move, he's not the one to go from the rotation at all. So that's been a huge development for them to see that, to take what he did last year and now elevate it to another level. You know, it's only 4 starts, so he's got a long way to go to prove this is legit. But so far, there's a lot to like about what we've seen from him.
And there is poetry / irony to this, because you had Parker during spring training competing with DJ Herz and Shinosuke Ogasawara for the final spot in the Nats' regular season opening rotation. Ogasawara, like you said, not really major league ready. And on a day on which Mitchell Parker was really good again, we did get the news that DJ Herz did undergo Tommy John surgery. Nats manager Davey Martinez made that announcement during his pregame session with reporters on Wednesday afternoon. Herz undergoing Tommy John, did not undergo an internal brace procedure. So Herz is done for the season. Not surprising, but clearly disappointing news, unfortunate news. So the Nats on March 25th announced having put Herz on the 15-day injured list due to a left elbow UCL sprain. And then the Nats the next day announced having transferred Herz to the 60-day injured list. This is a shame. He was a promising young pitcher. He did some really good stuff last season. I think we all were anxious to see what he would do this season, and he ends up not having a season. He's now done for the season. You know, I guess you could say the bright spot is he undergoes the Tommy John in April, so presumably he could / should be ready for next season. But, you know, as we have come to know, Tanner Rainey, Cade Cavalli, you can't assume anything with these recoveries from Tommy John surgery. So you hope for the best, but you certainly don't count on anything when it comes to DJ Herz next season.
Yeah, of course. And I think also, as we've seen, they tend to play these things very cautious with young pitchers in particular. And so I don't think they're going to feel like they have to get them ready for opening day next year. Probably going to be on an innings limit because of all this. So I could see them doing the slow play thing again next spring and delaying his start until later on in the summer. And that's even if everything goes exactly how you want it to go. It's not surprising. We all read the tea leaves there. The first opinion he got way back when said that you needed the surgery. He went and got a couple more opinions just in case he could find somebody who would say, nah, you know what? You could probably try to rehab this thing. Sure, you'd love to avoid the surgery and try to get through it, but really, it's a lot to ask. I think if you're an older pitcher who's just trying to get through their career, or if it's something that happens in the middle of the season and you're trying just to finish out the year for a team that's trying to win, different story. Maybe you can get away with the rehab thing. In DJ Herz's case, you just get the surgery done. It stinks. You lose a year, of course, but he's still young. There's still a long career potentially ahead of him. The track record for most pitchers is good to come back from this. And thankfully, it does get done now. And we're not talking about in July, him still not coming back and then finally getting the surgery at that point, which basically knocks him out for next year as well. So I get why they wanted to get the more opinions on it, but it was pretty clear this was going to be the resolution to it. And it's unfortunate, but hopefully a year from now, 15 months from now, we're talking about him coming back and rejoining the rotation and being the pitcher that he looked like he could be last year.
It's just so crazy. No starting pitcher was handled more carefully on the Nats than DJ Herz was last season, right? I mean, his innings were very limited. He pitched well, but, you know, he did not pitch for long in the majority of his outings. It's not like the Nats overused him, and he still ends up falling victim to a UCL surgery. It's just crazy how this is such a problem throughout Major League Baseball. And you look at Nats players on injured list right now, the 10-day injured list: shortstop C.J. Abrams, infielder Paul DeJong, first baseman Andres Chaparro. The 15-day IL, starters Michael Soroka and Cade Cavalli, relievers Orlando Revolta, Derek Law, and Zach Brixey. The 60-day IL, starters Josiah Gray and DJ Herz, and reliever Mason Thompson. The Nats have their fair share of players on injured lists right now. The Nats the last few years, especially in terms of position player injuries, really have not been hit that hard at all. The Nats have enjoyed really good injury luck in terms of injuries to position players. Pitching injuries 2 years ago, very fortunate. Last year, because of Josiah Gray and Trevor Williams, it's hard to say the Nats were that fortunate in terms of starting pitcher injuries. But overall, it's not like the Nats have been walloped by injury these last few years. I hope that this season isn't one of those seasons, but the early returns aren't exactly super encouraging here. Like, already you look at all of these Nats players who are out, the names, the list stand out.
Yeah, I mean, let's run through this. You're starting shortstop. You're starting third baseman, potential bench bat being in Chaparro. One of your 5 opening day starters, Soroka, another one who was hoping to be part of it, Herz, another one who was a big part of it, your opening day starter a year ago in Josiah Gray, one of your best relievers, Derek Law, another reliever who started the year with you, Orlando Revolta, another reliever with a little bit of big league experience, Zach Brixey, another one who had experience and then is now in his late stage, in theory, recovery from Tommy John surgery, Mason Thompson. I mean, those are some prominent names. It's maybe not the superstar players, but these are, for the most part, players who, if healthy, would be on this team right now. And especially as I'm looking at the left side of the infield, completely different now than it was just like 4 days ago. It is a concern. You just hope everybody else stays in one piece and that they start getting guys back before they start losing anyone else. It's kind of quietly been a big part of the first 3 weeks of the season, the injuries they've suffered that have kind of decimated them in more than one way.
All right, we have a shout out to deliver. This comes from Fed, Jake, and Vivek. Congratulations to Sam Lewis and wife Glynis Healy on the birth of their child, Walker Washington Lewis. Walker was born on the 15th of April, and the Nats immediately had an excellent win with the bullpen giving up no runs, so I'm sure Al is happy. The kid is great luck for the Nats, and we're hoping that the good luck continues. Here's to going 1-0 every day, Walker. We thank Fed, Jake, and Vivek for that. We say congratulations to Sam and Glynis, and we say welcome to the world, Walker. The Nats, unfortunately, are no longer unbeaten with you being alive, but it is nice to say that on the day of your birth, the Nats got a shutout win. That's a pretty cool thing.
That's a great thing to say, and I do hope as he grows up and decides if he's going to play ball and what position he's going to play, I really hope he becomes a position player, because with a name like Walker, I'd rather you be a hitter than a pitcher. Although here in Pittsburgh, Bob Walk was a pretty good pitcher for a long time in spite of his name, so maybe there's a chance for it. But all things considered, I'd rather have a kid named Walker have a bat in his hand, not standing on the mound.
Well, Walker is a great name. I like that name. That sounds like an athlete. So we'll see to what level Walker ascends in his athletic career. You tell us what you think. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Game 4 for the Nats at the Pirates, Thursday afternoon at 12:35. Trevor Williams will be the Nats starting pitcher. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast.
Started with a Will Smith home run, capped by a Shohei Ohtani home run.
Ohtani's first home run here at Citi Field. Someone just got tossed by Ramon de Jesus.
Who was it?
Who knows?
I think it was the third base umpire. Yeah, it was de Jesus.
Yeah. De Jesus has got a short fuse.
And he threw Lopez out of the game. It has just gotten worse.
Whoa.
And Lopez responds by tossing his glove up over the netting and into the crowd.
That's where the Mets are at.